You already know the feeling. You're in a dark room and some part of you is certain you are not alone. The hallway is black, the closet door is open. And even though the rational part of your brain insists there's nothing there, your heart climbs, your eyes strain, and every instinct screams at you to turn on the light. You're a grown adult, safe in a locked house, afraid of the dark. And the strange thing is, you're supposed to be. Think about how irrational this should be. Darkness can't actually touch you, it's just the absence of light. The same room you walked through an hour ago, only dimmer. There is no monster in the hallway, you know that. You can tell yourself that out loud in complete confidence, and it will change absolutely nothing, because the fear isn't listening. Your heart still speeds up, you still walk a little faster past the dark doorway. You still, at some point in your adult life, have pulled a blanket over an exposed shoulder like it was armor. We treat all of this as childish, a thing we're supposed to outgrow, but almost nobody fully does. And it arrives far too early and far too reliably to be something anyone teaches us. Nearly every child on Earth, in every culture, becomes afraid of the dark around the same young age, with no one training them to be. A fear that universal, that automatic, that stubborn against reason, was clearly never learned in the first place. You were born with it, already installed. And it is much older and much smarter than you are. Here's the thing your body knows that you've forgotten. You are a daylight animal. Your eyes are extraordinary in the sun, tuned for sharp detail and a huge range of color, but they are almost pathetically bad in the dark. The back of your eye is crowded with the cells that read color and find detail in bright light and comparatively starved of the ones that scrape together a picture from a few stray scraps of light. It's a magnificent daytime camera and a poor night one. In a lab at the University of Illinois, researchers actually measured the gap and found that an ordinary house cat can see roughly 6 times better than you in dim light. A cat strolls confidently across a black room while you stand frozen, hands out, feeling for the wall. So picture that in the ancient world. When the sun went down, you didn't just get sleepy, you went nearly blind, in a world where the animals that wanted to eat you could still see just fine. And that is the real key to the whole thing. You are not actually afraid of the dark. You are afraid of what the dark is hiding. The blackness itself is harmless. It's the not knowing that your body treats as an emergency, because for a very long time, the not knowing had teeth. And this isn't a metaphor. We have the fossils. In a cave called Swartkrans in South Africa, scientists found the skull cap of a young member of the human family, an ancestor who died nearly 2 million years ago. And punched into the top of that little skull are 2 neat round holes. For years, people assumed another early human had done it, with a weapon. Then the paleontologist C.K. Brain noticed something. The 2 holes were spaced exactly like the lower canine teeth of a leopard. And in the very same cave deposit, they found a fossil leopard's jaw, whose fangs slid into those holes like a key into a lock. This child had been killed by a leopard, carried up into a tree or a cave by the head, and eaten. Leopards are ambush hunters that see beautifully in low light and have preyed on primates for millions of years. And they were not alone out there. Lions, hyenas, and saber-toothed cats all worked the African night, all of them carrying eyes that kept functioning long after ours had failed. So for your ancestors, the dark meant something exact and practical, the hours when the things that ate your children could still see and you were blind. That fear in your chest was written, quite literally, by teeth. So what does a brain like that do when the lights go out? It does not relax. More of your brain is devoted to vision than to any other sense. And when you take that flood of information away, all that machinery doesn't switch off. It starts guessing. With no real data coming in, your threat detection system does the only safe thing it knows: it assumes. Every vague shape becomes a maybe. Every creak becomes a footstep. The coat on the back of the door becomes a figure, just for a second, until your eyes catch up. This is why your imagination gets so loud in the dark. That racing, worst-case imagination is your threat detection system running at full speed on almost no information, defaulting every single time to the assumption that something is out there. Because the ancestors whose brains defaulted the other way, who assumed the dark was empty and relaxed into it, are not the ones who became your ancestors. Which brings us to the strangest part: why the fear stays even now, even when you know better. Evolutionary biologists have a name for it. They call it the smoke detector principle. Think about the smoke alarm in your kitchen. It shrieks at burnt toast. It goes off in a cloud of steam from the shower. It is wrong, loudly, constantly, and it annoys everyone. But you keep it because the cost of 100 false alarms is a jarring noise and a wave of your hand, while the cost of one missed alarm is that you burn to death in your sleep. Evolution tunes fear the exact same way. 1,000 nights of jumping at nothing cost your ancestor almost nothing, just a racing heart and a bad moment. But one night of not being afraid when the leopard really was there cost them everything, including every child they might ever have had. So natural selection built a fear that would far rather be wrong 1,000 times than right too late. That is why you cannot reason your way out of it while you're standing in that dark hallway. This system was designed from the ground up to ignore your reasoning. Reasoning is slow. Teeth are fast. And if you think you've evolved past all this, the lab says otherwise. At Yale, researchers ran a simple experiment. They startled people with sudden bursts of noise, sometimes in the light, sometimes in complete darkness, and they measured the flinch. In the dark, the startle was significantly bigger, and they were able to show it was driven by fear itself, not just by paying closer attention. It runs through the amygdala, the brain's ancient alarm center, the same little structure that handles fear in every mammal alive. Your nervous system is measurably more afraid in the dark, right now, in a padded research room with scientists watching. And here's the detail that seals it. Rats in the same kind of test show the exact opposite. Rats flinch harder in the light because rats are creatures of the night, and daylight is when they get eaten. Every animal's fear points, like a compass needle, straight at its own moment of greatest danger. For the rat, that's the light. For you, it has always been the dark. Now here's where the story turns, because we keep treating this fear as a bug, a childish leftover, something a rational modern person should be embarrassed to still feel. But look at what it actually is. That jolt in the dark hallway is one of the oldest continuous experiences on Earth. The very same feeling firing in your chest tonight fired in the chest of a small, frightened human 2 million years ago, listening to something move outside the reach of the fire. It is an inheritance handed down an unbroken line of survivors, every one of whom lived long enough to pass it on precisely because they felt it. The nervous ones lived. The relaxed ones got eaten. You are running the software of 100,000 frightened nights, and it worked. You are the descendant of the ones who always assumed something was there, because every so often something was. So here's the full picture. You are a daylight creature who goes nearly blind at night in a world that once held predators who did not. For millions of years, the dark was the hour the leopard came, and we have the punctured skulls to prove it. So your brain learned to fill the darkness with worst-case guesses, and evolution tuned that fear like a smoke alarm, set to scream at nothing 1,000 times rather than stay silent once. It's still in you, measurable in a lab, pointed like a needle at the dark. Every piece of it is doing exactly the job it was built to do. So tonight, when the lights go off and you feel that old pull to check the closet, to get your back to the wall, to move a little faster down the black hallway, don't be embarrassed by it. That feeling is a gift, the oldest one you own, handed to you by every ancestor who was afraid enough of the dark to survive it and have a child. They were right to be afraid. And the fact that you're here, safe, in a lit and locked house, feeling a fear you no longer need, is the quiet proof that all of them made it through the night. You can turn on the light now. They couldn't. That's the whole difference, and they're the reason you get to. If you want to dig into any of the research behind this, it's all linked down in the description. See you soon.